Welcome to Data Science Perspectives. This series focuses on analytics and data science professionals from across industry to learn about how their career unfolded, what skills they look for when hiring, and what trends they think are coming next. I'm your host, Bill Franks. Let's get to it. Welcome to this episode of Data Science Perspectives. I'm your host, Bill Franks. Today we're going to be joined by Melinda Borrero of Chick-fil-A. She and I first met several years back when she was looking for a speaker on ethics and analytics, and I agreed to come and spend some time with her and her team. She's been a key part of helping Chick-fil-A continue to modernize and enhance their usage of analytics. Her role at Chick-fil-A has included helping to build an internal consulting organization to work with business stakeholders to define, charter, and deliver high-impact analytics. She's had an impressive career. She started out in academia, teaching at the University of South Carolina, Lehigh University, and even the University of the Andes down in Colombia. From there, she moved into business with a focus on analytics and market research. She held a VP role at JFK Networks, an EVP role at TNS North America, which is part of the Kantar family, and was president of the P&G account for Ipsos. She's super laid back and easy to get along with, as I think you'll see. She enjoys mentoring others and has served on multiple university advisory boards. She has a bachelor's in math and stats from University of South Carolina, a master's degree in statistics from Virginia Tech, my alma mater, and also a PhD in business from South Carolina. And with that, let's welcome Melinda to the show. Hey, Melinda, welcome to the show.
Hey, Bill, how's it going?
It's good. I'm looking forward to talking to you because I know you have a very interesting background, and like me, you got into analytics back way before it was cool with a classic statistics degree, just like I had. In fact, several of them. Mm-hmm. What initially got you pulled into the world of what was then statistics and is now analytics and has evolved to data science?
Well, I kind of happened into statistics, actually. I love problems and solving problems. In fact, some people, like my mom and dad, say that I was the troublemaker in the family. So I try to solve more problems than I create, but I just love problem solving. And also growing up, I love math. I'm like one of those math geeks. And in fact, when I did my undergrad in math at South Carolina, I think I was the only woman in the program. Can you believe that? But I'm a math geek, and I was a geek even before geek was kind of cool. And also, I love computers. So when I was in middle school, I think, I went to a conference with my dad, National Federation of the Blind. My dad is legally blind, and they were demoing. Actually, Ray Kurzweil was demoing the first talking computer, one of the early stages. And I saw this computer talk, and I was, like about in the 7th, 8th grade, and I was just mesmerized that a computer could talk, and that because my dad couldn't see to read, this computer was like reading for him. And it was just so amazing. So I kind of got geeked out on computers, but I loved math. So, problem solving, math, computer science, that's what kind of led me into it. And then stats kind of came in later when the math people needed to get jobs. And it wasn't applied math. It was the kind where you do, proving theorems and everything. But we needed jobs. So we went into stat to get jobs. So probably not a total plan, but, it's been a fun ride.
Well, you have a background that's interesting as well because you've spanned a number of different roles. So you started in academic roles with a couple of different universities, actually being a professor, and then you flipped over to business and had, in your introduction, I mentioned roles at a couple of market research related firms and such before you've more recently landed at Chick-fil-A. So what initially drew you over to the academic side of things, but even equally important, what drew you over into business from there?
Well, academia actually got me into business because, like I said, I was a math stat geek. And I think, we went to Virginia Tech and did some stat up there. But after Virginia Tech, one of my former professors in the math department called me up and said, hey, they're starting this new program. It's a master's in international business. and it's funded by IBM, and they need somebody to teach stat. So I said, why not? So I went down, and I had never had a business course, but they needed a stat professor. So I went down and I taught in that program, which lo and behold was like the number one program, and I think it still is. It's a great program. But I just kind of happened into it. And then I worked for the Center for Academic Computing that IBM had given this big grant for. So really, I got into research by consulting in the Center for Academic Computing in the business school. So the professors from all over the business school would come in with their problems. And, I'm the problem solver with stat. So we got into it. And then I was like, wow, they're doing some cool stuff. I really like the stuff in finance and the stuff with the consumer behavior, the consumer marketing analytics. So they lured me in, and then I got into academia, and then you get a PhD, and what do? Well, you do research and you're a professor. So I went up to Lehigh, and it was a tough market then too. I have this theme, tough markets, but tough markets give opportunity. So I went up to Lehigh, and they had a center, and it was a Martindale Center for International. And in that center within the business school, they looked at problems from political, social, and also business perspectives. So I wrote a little grant and went down and to Bogota, Colombia at University of Los Andes. They had a partnership down there. And so I hung out for a couple of years in Bogota, and I really got into business. So that's what got me out of academia. So academia got me into business, and business got me out of academia, because I went down to Bogota, and it's like, wow, there's a lot of cool problems in the university, but there's even more cool problems inside these companies. So, and I was working with all kinds of companies. I had that opportunity, cement companies, consumer product companies, financial companies. And I was like, wow, I was like a kid in a candy store. So I stayed down there 2 years. And when I came back, I just stayed in consulting. So academia got me into business, and academia got me out of business.
Oh, that's funny. Well, in the business that you went into, it was a lot of market research, more traditional market research, and I know that those two are often thought of as fairly distinct, and I've always disagreed with that. I think they do distinct things, but they're aimed at same places. So, how do you see the overlap between traditional market research and more modern data science approaches that are digging into these masses of data that we didn't used to have, which led in part to the need for market research?
Yeah, well, we're similar in that we see the overlap, Bill. And traditional market research, at least that I understand it, there's two components to it. You listen and you ask questions. And traditionally, at least in consumer research or human research, the listening was one-on-one interviews like we're doing, or focus groups, small groups. And then you would ask questions. Now, traditionally, there were these long hour, remember those one plus hour surveys, all the habits and practices that you have with this product. So traditionally, we ask long questions. So now, though, in the modern time, we still listen and we still ask questions, but you're doing listening in a different way. So you listen by, harvesting social media data, extracting the things that people are talking about. So that's all modern. That may be traditional now, but that at one time was modern. So you're listening in different ways, and technology helps you listen. You can actually listen or observe behaviors with cameras. You have to be careful with that, because you want to do things in an appropriate way and not be follow all the rules and also do it ethically. But the listening, now technology has helped us listen, and then on the asking, the listening helps us get smarter. So we have to ask fewer questions, because I don't know about you, but I don't like surveys. So the fewer surveys that I can answer, the better. And then also, when we ask questions now, frequently we ask fewer, and we ask them in open-ended, purposeful ways. And then that open-ended, like I could ask you, Bill, why do you like Chick-fil-A? And you would respond. And that's also text data that we can mine with things like natural language processing. So listening and questioning have always been around, but technology and models and methods now allow us to listen in different ways and listen more and ask purposefully.
Oh, nice answer. I like that. I've never heard that exact perspective before, so that's a new one. That's a new one for me, but it makes a lot of sense. Um, one thing I've been in Atlanta for over 20 years now, and have watched Chick-fil-A just grow so fast and have such success. And one of the reasons is it's known for genuinely focusing on its culture. And I can tell you, people, when you go to fast food restaurants, you don't expect good service. You don't expect friendliness. But I go into Chick-fil-A's, I can't think of a time I haven't had, friendly, nice service. And that takes some diligent effort. So what is it about Chick-fil-A's culture that makes it exciting to be a part of that team? And then how do you actually go about instilling that in not just the people at headquarters, but the people out on the front lines?
Um, well, I'm glad you have good experiences at Chick-fil-A because we're very purpose driven and we have a shared mission. And this is we strive to be the world's most caring company. And uh, strive means we always don't get it right. But at least that's our goal. We strive to um, like if you visit our restaurants, we hope you don't have to wait in line too long to get fresh food. We hope it's served with hospitality and with pleasure. And we hope when you leave that you feel better than when you came, even if you had to stand in line or wait in the drive through. So, our mission, shared mission of care, we hire for that, but also we train for it and in our restaurants, and we take it very seriously. And really, it's from the restaurant all the way to support center is caring. And so we want results. So we want you to get your food fast, um, and on your order accurate, and that you'll feel satisfied with the good high quality food. So we want that result, and we want a relationship with you, and so that you'll feel better when you leave, and hopefully come back and tell your friends about it. So it's about results and relationship and doing it with a mindset of care. And that's why we do hire in the sports center. We hire for it. It's a caring culture, and it permeates our entire organization. We're privately held, the Cathy family. They're a very caring family, um, and so we care for each other. We're like family. And we had some team members. That's what we call the people that work in the restaurants. The operator runs the restaurant, and then that operator has team members. We had some team members in at the sports center the other day, and they were interviewing them, and they basically said that the reason they like to work at Chick-fil-A really is because that restaurant is like their family.
Hmm.
And times are hard, especially we're hopefully coming out of COVID, and family's important. So if you work at the support center, you have your family and also your Chick-fil-A family. And if you work in our restaurants, you have family and Chick-fil-A family. So really, care is very important, and it's modeled, and it's also trained for our restaurants.
That's interesting, and to your point, not all companies focus on that, and it does seem like a type of skill and a type of approach that without practice and purpose, it's easy to lose, especially if you're in the
Right.
middle of a lunch rush and people are harried both behind and in front of the counter and so forth.
Yeah, it's a goal. We strive to be the
Yeah.
world's most caring company, but if we don't get it right, we'll try harder next time.
Well, one thing that's really impressed me has been obviously COVID slammed restaurants, amongst the hardest of industries. But Chick-fil-A already had a pretty robust drive-through and carry-out business developed. So I think, yeah, you all were able to pivot much more rapidly and have much less of an impact. But I imagine that for a while there, your team must have gotten pulled into all kinds of crazy, panicked analytical requests to help figure out what to do. What without giving away any of the proprietary specifics. Were there any questions that you got asked, or any of the problems that came up that really have stuck with you since the time they were raised?
Um, well, we all learned a lot, I think, collectively. The world learned a lot during COVID. And you're right, we were very fortunate to already have drive through up and running. Of course, we did have to make tweaks on that because of the volume, with the dining rooms being closed. Unfortunately, all restaurants weren't in that position, so they had to innovate and open up. Like even fine restaurants had to figure out how to do curb and how to do delivery. We had that. So really, when COVID hit, in fact, Bill, I think you and I reached out to one of the groups that you're part of. We basically we do a lot of forecasting, both restaurant facing forecasting as well as financial forecasting. And in the restaurant facing forecast, things like how many waffle fries do we need, chicken breast do we need to cook, nuggets, grilled breasts, grilled nuggets. Um, Many or most of those, and I may even say all, broke because these forecasting models depend on time series and trends, right? And there was a disruption. Boom, the dining room's closed. We didn't know, everybody was told to stay at home. So our models were broken. And so through that disruption, which lasted much longer than I think all of us liked, we had time to pause. Actually, COVID paused us. And we said, okay, what models do we need to fix first? Restaurant facing, forecasting, of course, there's relationship there, but we had to prioritize which ones to fix first. And then it gave us an opportunity to fix them, the problem, in different ways. So we had to look at new sources of data. Like in our forecasting models, we never had, CDC data coming in. So we had to stream that in because we had to try to use the CDC models and other models to determine how long COVID was going to last. And it lasted much longer than we thought, and actually, hopefully, we're on the tail end. But it gave us a time to look at new data sources and also new ways of estimating because we didn't have long time series anymore because it was disrupted. So we had to go into using methods, Monte Carlo simulation kind of stuff that wasn't what we had traditionally done in the time series area. So it gave us opportunities. And then as COVID progressed, of course, we all know supply chain came in. So we have supply chain models. So then you've got to work on like making sure you have just enough supply. And then, when supply chain was challenged, um, those models had to be looked at. But overall, through COVID, it gave us an opportunity to pause, prioritize, because we had to, what we're going to fix first, what's most critical to running the business, and looking at our models and how we deploy our models in different ways.
That's great. I will say you mentioned my favorite item on the menu at Chick-fil-A, the waffle fries. Those
Yes.
are my favorite fries. I think the only way you could improve on those is to add in sweet potato waffle fries on the menu, which I'll just officially register that with you here today with no expectation that anything will happen, but I can sleep at night knowing I had made my attempt. So,
Yeah, I
uh,
like the sweet potatoes too, but waffle fries are also my favorite, and unsweet tea, um, because waffle fries are, yeah, they're just good. Um,
well, you've got a varied work experience and some varied skills. What's one trait, if you had to pick it out, about yourself that you think has enabled you to succeed over the years, and particularly succeed in what's really a pretty varied range of corporate and university environments?
yeah. Um, Sometimes people look at skills and traits using a T model, right? You got technical or your technical, your hard models, and then your soft, more relationship models. I think you need both, and I think you need um, to focus on developing both. When I started out, I really focused hard on the technical side. So I'm really grateful that I studied math and I have that, and then went into statistics as an application area. And I'm also glad in this strange ways that I studied math without computers, even though I love computers. And this is why. Um, if you don't have a computer, you have to focus on more on understanding the problem to be solved, what really is the need, and then designing and solutions by looking at alternative solutions or ways of going. Because there's never one right way to go about solving a problem. Some are better than others, but there's always choices there. So I think if I had started out now, I would have probably been a bigger computer junkie, like programming nerd, than I was back then. But I'm really grateful that I had that great training and a lot of professors that spent time with me teaching me the basics of design and good principles of how to go about solving problems, understanding problems, and also looking at them from different lenses. By that I mean looking at them from like not just a financial lens, but also a consumer lens, a supply chain lens, a political lens, a social lens, and just looking at that problems from different lenses allow us to um, I think, come up with solutions that inform business decisions and maybe even life decisions better. So the technical is real important. Um, on the soft side, I think it is, I like helping people. Um, and again, like I said earlier, I don't like, sometimes I cause trouble. I hope it's good trouble, but I really like to help people solve problems. Um, and that helping, that kind of servant heart, I think has served me well. And I was taught that by my mom and dad. So I had a good foundation to grow on that. And then I think just having test and learn mentality, and I know that's hot right now, but I grew up, I'm first gen to be educated. And growing up, my life was test and learn, right? If this doesn't work, my dad was an entrepreneurial business guy. He said, if this doesn't work, let's try this, let's try that. So just that test and learn, and then pausing after you test something to really understand what you learned, in particular, what not to do again. A lot of times people dwell on what went right. I think that's important because you need to celebrate that, but you also need to focus on what maybe not to do again. So the not list or the that list is important too. So those soft and hard skills, but I am grateful that I started out with very good, solid technical math, stat foundation.
Well, great. One thing as students who are just about to begin their career or very early in their career, what's one piece of advice that you would give them to think about as they ponder a career in the analytics and data science space?
Well, I you're the advice person, Bill. I may just give some suggestions. Uh, so I think, and I still say this to myself, um, careers are long games, right? Now, you have a lot of decisions to make along the trail, along the game or in the game. And there's actually no one size fits all career. So it has to be right for you. It has to, you need to make your own decisions. Um, and just remember that it's like a creative process, right? You're developing your journey and your career. If you had asked me, even 10 years ago, if I would be thinking about chicken thawing and modeling for chicken thawing. That's real fascinating, by the way, Bill. I would have said, "What? I don't even eat chicken," right? So I think look at your. It's a journey. Look at it as a series of decisions, and let yourself be open to opportunities. Like I consulted to Chick-fil-A because before I came on board, and I fell in love with Chick-fil-A as a company, and I let myself be open when an opportunity came up. So that openness is important. Don't box yourself in. And I'm going to say I boxed myself in because after I got a PhD, I said, "Well, I got a PhD now, so I'm supposed to be a professor, right?"
Right.
I didn't look at like not being a professor, like going into business or going into a non-academic thing, because I was like, well, everybody around me, they were professors. So that was the path. Now I'm glad I took that, but keep yourself open to alternative paths, not just what people around you are doing. Even though I'm sure people around you are making great decisions for them, it has to be good for you and your family and for the stage you are in life.
I think that is some terrific advice, especially for young people. The idea of not getting pigeonholed, or worse, it's bad enough if other people pigeonhole you, but you pointed out you kind of pigeonholed yourself, and that you want to be open. I think that's great advice. Well, I think I've taken a good chunk of your time this morning. I appreciate so much you offering your insights, and I will look forward to having a waffle fry soon.
Great, and it's my pleasure. And come down and see us sometime at the support center. You're always welcome, Bill.
All right. Well, thank you.